Hi, everybody. Amy Hodler with Graph Geeks. I am here with James Massaquoi at the Glasswing Ventures offices, beautiful offices. And we're hosting an event tonight. So we had a chance to just take a few minutes before everything gets going
Yeah.
and just talk a little bit about the graph market and what James seems as well. So, James, can you tell everybody just a little bit about what you're doing with Glasswing?
Yeah. So, hey, I'm James. I work for Glasswing Ventures. We're an
Mhm. Mhm.
AI-focused pre-seed seed fund. We just raised 200 million that we're putting into the market, so we're super excited about that.
Wow.
We do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We do a mixture of like AI for enterprise and AI
Yeah.
for cybersecurity,
Yeah.
but we can kind of do anything across like the general enterprise
Mm.
B2B SaaS board. Um, yeah, and then we're super excited about knowledge graphs and how they're being used
Mm.
across AI and for different use
Mhm.
cases, and so always happy to do things with you
Yeah.
and the Graph Geeks team. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was so great to be introduced and meet the team and now be here in the office. But I'm sure other people are kind of curious. As somebody who does some investing and works with startups, like how have you seen things change for the graph tech space and knowledge graphs?
Yeah, so I got involved in knowledge graphs and
Uh,
infrastructure and their usage within like traditional stacks around 2023
mhm.
when I started seeing AI agent companies
Mm,
kind of proliferate the market.
I see.
Um, all of that's contextual knowledge drives all decision making. And back then, context windows were much shorter, and
Yeah.
LMs needed a lot more
Yeah.
information. Now, things got as LMs have gotten smarter, I think it's made it even more important and less important in some ways. Um, Context is always going to be the critical part
Right.
of
Right.
any autonomous or semi-autonomous action, as we all know. And so knowledge graphs become even more critical. But as LMs have kind of changed and as we move into different architectures, it's
Mm,
been kind of fun seeing how they're being used alongside all this new
mm,
tech. But for me, when it gets down to it, context is critical. And if you want to have critical context that you can use for real enterprise use cases where you can't mess up, or if you do, bad things
mm.
happen, you need a knowledge graph.
So question for you, since you brought up context and context graphs,
Mm,
what are your thoughts or context?
mm,
What are your thoughts about context graphs?
Yeah.
Because that is one of those terms where, it's $1 trillion opportunity. Oh, it's not doing so well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's this, it's that, and there's like a million different, definitions. So, what are your thoughts? How do you define the context graph, and what's your opinion on that kind of going forward?
Well, we got to see a lot of existing technologies that were not standalone platforms,
Mhm.
but are critical for every single part
Mhm.
of like an application layer stack.
Mhm.
And that's a lot of mumbo jumbo in one sentence. But
Yeah.
I mean, we use vector,
Mhm.
we vectorize everything. Like we're
Mhm.
ingesting that information, but vector search, and then I think more importantly, like vector databases were not a standalone platform
Yeah.
outside of Pinecone. A lot of people that invest in those spaces did not do super hot from a VC
Mhm.
perspective,
Mhm.
but we're using that technology all the time.
Mhm.
And so it's more about, I don't think you have to have a standalone platform or
Mhm.
like a knowledge graph database company that becomes a multi-trillion dollar
Yeah.
opportunity for the tech alone to be super critical.
Mm.
Because if you need it to do anything
Mhm.
using AI, which I think for most people, that's what they would say,
Mhm.
unless unless there's some really weird applications, it's
Yeah.
eventually you need to know what happened in the past
Yeah.
and what happened moving forward. And LMs suck with time series data
Yeah.
and context, and drafting that all together
Yeah.
makes it a lot easier. Alongside a bunch of other use cases, I just can't see knowledge graphs not being a part of the stack.
Yeah.
And so, will they be standalone? I don't know, but like,
Yeah.
will you need it if you want to build your next
Yeah.
like B2B SaaS? I mean AI like SDR
Yeah.
or things much more complex than that?
Mm.
Then absolutely.
If you're going down this path of probably not standalone, I would completely agree with that. Or I would say, yeah, I don't think they'll be standalone. And the whole point of, connected data and context is to get it inside the rest of the organization, inside the rest of the stack. So,
Yeah.
don't separate it if you don't have to, right?
Yeah. And I
So,
forgot to even define not context graphs too.
oh,
So
okay.
forgive me, but like,
That's okay.
I don't even know if it needs like, I think
Do we need a name?
yeah, I
Like,
think people
I
kind
don't
of create like
know.
these weird names for stuff. Like,
We
it's a
like
knowledge graph.
that.
Yeah.
That's when we're looking for funding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fair.
there you go.
But sorry, you're saying?
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, so what excites you about the graph space or
Yeah.
or what, is there any kind of emerging technology in that area or use case that, you're super excited about?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one, if every smart person I know is building something cool that we want to invest in or are looking at
Mhm.
seriously or using a technology, which I think we can say for knowledge graphs is like 90% of what we're looking at
Mhm.
from cyber to enterprise,
Mhm.
then we should be excited as well.
Yeah.
And we should understand it and be able to talk about it, or at minimum be very aware of it.
Hmm.
And then things that we're excited about and that we're seeing that are using is kind of as a byproduct of that, almost
Yeah.
everything. And
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that's critical for us is some people use knowledge graphs only to a certain extent. Some within one-shot workflows. Some of them trying to
Hmm.
keep data across
Hmm.
multiple aspects of their agents, like what they did 6 months ago to today. Eventually, it caps out
Mm.
in terms of the nodes you can really actually understand. And then I think this is importantly like the sheer amount of information it can gather.
Yeah.
It's not the most effective thing at scale, depending on how much information you're putting in there. So then people move in like text to markdown, things to markdown, or
Mm.
just having an agent like crawl like existing histories. I don't know, there's a bunch of different use cases there.
So a lot of graph geeks folks out there just love graphs. They're building
Mm,
solutions. They might happen to have like graph under the cover,
yeah.
or maybe it's not a like traditional graph, but it has to do with connected data.
Mm,
Is there anything that you would want to leave them with thinking about? Because a lot of those people building are, of course, needing funding to
yeah.
build. You work for a company that does some funding. So are there certain things that you kind of think about? You're like, oh, I wish the those folks, kind of knew this one thing, or I would like to leave them with something that they should at least think.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, when it gets down to it, you should be using graphs in
Hmm.
every single aspect of your tech. Ideally, on your back end, you're
Hmm.
having as much of that data, uh, I guess, from a semantic standpoint, be
Hmm.
able to be searchable, but that search leads to context surrounding it.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
and I'd say the best products that we're seeing at the stage give agents the ability to do that.
I
How
see.
they do it, kind of up in the air,
Yeah.
because if you're ingesting images or video versus like pure text, things get really funky
Oh
fast.
yeah.
So I don't know if I have like a recommendation on tools, but what I will say is we have done like a lot of deep dives on memory and knowledge graphs or coincide almost, not they're not one for one, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
And people are starting to build more and more standalone memory focused, not LLMs per se, but like auxiliary models is what I
Hmm.
refer to them all as, but like third party memory stores.
Yeah.
And what that looks like is up in the air. There's a bunch of people doing it
Hmm.
and how they're doing it, like
Hmm.
from the RAG based models to, hey, just like a file base of all
Yeah.
markdown to more complex stuff
Yeah.
where it's like, hey, we're going to take your data across multiple applications and
Hmm.
then store it in all one place where you can easily search it.
Hmm.
Um, all of that sounds super similar to knowledge graphs. And I imagine the infrastructure is pretty similar, but it's more of a focus on scale and less semantic.
Well,
Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing is it's not necessarily a specific tech,
Mm,
it's the model, and it's the like thinking about things as connected data.
yes.
How you get there, does it really matter? Maybe not. How do you exactly integrate? Does it matter? Maybe not, but it's just thinking of how you bring connected data to agents in, whatever fashion that
Yeah.
might be. So
Yeah.
awesome. Appreciate the insights. Appreciate you being such a supporter of the community
Oh, yeah, of course.
and a honorary Graph Geek member, as you
Yeah.
can see by
Ooh.
the shirt. There we go. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And we're about to go off and have a couple cocktails and enjoy the evening with other Graph Geeks.